Today is my final pottery class.
Hello, Nacho.
Bye, Radius. I don't think I'm going to continue with pottery. I'm not going to continue. I really enjoyed the class, and I'm happy I did it. Yeah, I don't think I have like the bandwidth for it at the moment. I don't. That being said, I would love to one day have a wheel and a little kiln in my garage or something. Being in this apartment and not having a basement or a garage or a workbench is driving me nuts. I'm having a hard time leaving the house. ADHD is kicking in. I'm having a hard time getting out of the house. It's like an apple tree. Wow, look at these. One of my ideas for a video that I think could do well would be titled "The Gardens of Southeast Portland," or "The Gardens of Portland," or maybe "The Most Edible City in America." The gardens here are spectacular. It feels like everyone has this immaculate garden in their front yard filled with flowers and roses and herbs and vegetables and fruit trees and berry bushes. Yeah, it's really quite impressive.
The first house we bought had chickens and we inherited them. So that's how we started, so it's kind of a crash course. But chickens are thankfully pretty easy to keep. So we feed them like a pelletized grain. And you can buy that at like any feed store. And then as far as eggs go, it depends on their age. When they were younger, they would give about 1 egg each per day, especially during the summer. Now that they're older, they kind of tend to take the winter off, and maybe we get 1 egg each every other day, something like that.
So a pretty substantial amount.
Yeah, definitely. At times it's more than we need, and yeah, sometimes we have to figure out what to do with them.
Is it, wow. So how many did you just pull out of there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wow. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the conditions of most egg-laying hens, they have generally pretty terrible lives. So by doing this yourselves, there is an amount of suffering you can avoid. The chicken feed that we buy is not very cheap, and so economically, it would be cheaper to buy the cheapest possible store-bought eggs at like Winco or something. And it's a personal decision to, if we're going to use eggs, to try to get them in a way that causes the least amount of suffering. So we choose to raise them ourselves.
Everything I'm doing here is nothing new. In fact, this is all very, very old. This is poultry farming 50 years ago.
Howdy folks, it's me, Colonel Sanders. I've been going for a while and boy, howdy, have things changed.
My nose is so long and pointy that it's kind of hard to tell when my face is in focus. It's like I can either have my nose in focus or my eyeballs in focus. That documentary is called Eating Animals. It's based on the book by the same name by Jonathan Safran Foer, Eating Animals, which is kind of the book that convinced me to go vegetarian, or at least was the book that I was reading when I went vegetarian. And yeah, I watch something like that and I want to like scream from a mountaintop, like, guys, we've got to stop eating meat. But that is not how you persuade people, and speaking in that sort of dogmatic way isn't helpful, and it's so tough to walk that fine line of being passionate about a cause and having knowledge that you want to share with people, but also not shoving things down people's throats. People have to come to decisions in their own time, under their own terms. My old roommate and best friend, Dan, he had like sticky notes with little quotes written down all over his walls, and one that has kind of stuck with me is he had one right next to his door that just said, "People are doing their best." And there's a lot of empathy packed into that sentiment, that phrase. And I try to remember that as much as possible whenever I'm feeling peeved or frustrated or, judgmental. People are doing their best. I'm having a hard time leaving the house. ADHD is kicking in. I'm having